Whenever the girl cried, her tears turned blue. The emperor was stunned, because 20 years ago, the old royal astrologer left a prophecy on his deathbed. Marry the woman who cries blue tears as empress, and the kingdom will prosper for 100 years. All because of that old astrologer's dying nonsense, my emperor husband secretly took the phoenix seal and, while I was away praying for blessings, wrote a decree for me to step down as empress. I went to the imperial tombs to pray on the emperor's behalf. A year later I came back, and my phoenix seal was gone. The head of the imperial household knelt in front of me. Your Majesty, half a year ago, you submitted a petition to step down. 3 days ago, His Majesty issued an order to crown a new empress. Anna, the Minister of Personnel's daughter, was brought into the palace by the Empress Dowager because of her lucky fate. I simply smiled, straightened my robe, and my voice was oddly calm. Then when does this empress step down? Your Majesty, the petition has passed review by the 6 ministries. It will be announced to the nation this afternoon, and the new empress's coronation is set for noon tomorrow. That night, Jack came under the moonlight, handed me an exit token, and looked heartbroken. Lucy, you are the only one in my heart, but the imperial astronomers say her fate can protect the kingdom. You need to think of the bigger picture. I understand. For the country, for the royal bloodline, I should step down and make way for someone worthy. Jack looked shocked. He clearly hadn't expected me to be this obedient. If you can think that way, I am very relieved. He reached out, wanting to pat the back of my hand like he always did, as if to comfort me. Without making a scene, I stepped back half a step and avoided his touch. His hand froze awkwardly in the air. Lucy, I know you've been wronged. You may take all the gold, silver, and valuables you want. I won't be stingy. The Empress Dowager has arrived. With the eunuch's announcement, she entered Changle Palace, surrounded by palace servants. Lucy, since you've already agreed to step down, I'll be direct. The Empress Dowager sat in the main seat and adjusted her sleeves. Your 120 dowry chests filled the treasury when you entered the palace. Now that you're leaving, you may take the jewelry, but the red gold 9 phoenix token must stay. I looked at the most powerful mother and son in Liang and found it ridiculous. One was the husband I had loved for 7 years and supported for 5. The other was the mother-in-law I had served day and night with medicine. Jack stood beside the Empress Dowager, looking as if he was in terrible pain. Lucy, I don't want you to suffer. You may take the gold and silver. It will keep you rich for several lifetimes. But the 9 phoenix token concerns the foundation of the country. The border war isn't over, and the treasury is empty. Once again, he used the righteousness of the world to pressure me. I slowly lifted my head and smiled. Your Majesty and the Empress Dowager are right. I reached into my sleeve. This is the 9 phoenix token. I held the token in my palm. Since Your Majesty and the Empress Dowager want it, I'll give it to you. Jack was overjoyed and stepped forward to take it, but I turned my hand and moved it away. But I have 2 conditions. What conditions? As long as you hand over the token, I will make sure you never worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life. I ignored the Empress Dowager and looked straight at Jack. I want a divorce letter. Jack stumbled back in shock. A divorce letter? Lucy, you know I care about you. I'm only removing you as Empress. I never meant to. Your Majesty, I cut him off. What I want is this. From now on, we marry whoever we want, and we have nothing to do with each other. And one more thing. I pointed to the old maids and palace girls outside. I want to take every old servant of the Lucy family with me. Since I am leaving the palace, they will naturally leave with me. The Empress Dowager relaxed. I thought it was some impossible condition. I agree. In the Empress Dowager's eyes, anything was worthless compared to power and wealth. But Jack kept staring at me, as if trying to see whether I was just acting out. There was nothing. Lucy, once you have that divorce letter, you really won't belong to me anymore. I gently placed the 9 phoenix token on the redwood table. Isn't that exactly what you wanted? You want a stable kingdom and a beauty in your arms. I'll give you both. I trade this fortune for my freedom. Your Majesty, this deal is all profit for you. Jack looked at the token, then at the Empress Dowager's urging eyes, and finally wrote, May we part in peace and each find happiness. When the last stroke fell, he stamped it with the jade seal. I swiftly took the paper, dried the ink, carefully folded it, and tucked it close to my chest. Then I pointed at the token on the table. It's yours now. After that, I turned to the old servants kneeling on the floor, personally helped my wet nurse up, and said, Let's go home. Jack thought I would make a scene. He thought I would use the 9 phoenix token to stop him from making someone else empress. He thought I would cry and beg him not to abandon me. But I did nothing. I knelt on the floor, packing up my old things. Compared with the gold and jewels, the only things I cared about were inside this camphor wood chest. These were the things from before I married. My thoughts were pulled back out of my control to that winter solstice 7 years ago. 7 years ago, Emperor Xuan believed slander and punished Jack by making him kneel in the snowy ancestral temple for 3 days and nights without a drop of water. When I bribed the guards and risked my life to sneak in, he was barely alive from the cold. Jack, I cried as I untied my cloak, trying to warm his frozen body with my own heat. The boy who used to fear even a common cold held my hand down, tucked it into his robe, and chattered through his teeth. Lucy, don't cry. This little snow is nothing. When I win the throne, I will use this jade as my betrothal gift and never let you suffer even the slightest hardship again. Back then, every word of that promise felt real, and I believed it. I truly thought he would be the strongest person I could rely on, the husband I could trust with my life. Jack reeked of wine as he staggered in. Lucy, you blame me, but I had no choice. He sent everyone away, his eyes red, then collapsed onto the soft couch across from me, covered his face with both hands, and choked out his words. Mother threatened to die. The officials used the kingdom's fate to pressure me. Anna is pregnant. The imperial astronomers say she has an auspicious destiny. If I don't do this, I can't keep the throne. He peeked at my reaction through his fingers. When he saw me sitting still, he thought I was angry, so he leaned forward, his tone urgent. Lucy, you've always been understanding. You can understand my pain, right? You're the only one in my heart. The Empress title is just an empty name. As he spoke, he reached for my hand like he always did. A wave of nausea rose in my throat, and I instinctively turned away as if avoiding a snake. Jack's hand froze awkwardly in the air, most of the drunken haze leaving his eyes as he stared at me in disbelief. Your Majesty, you're drunk. I stood up coldly and smoothed my sleeves. Jack paused, then his eyes landed on the sandalwood box. You're not taking the jade pendant with you? To him, if I still kept our love token, it meant I still had feelings for him. No need. I casually picked up a damp cloth and wiped my hands, as if I had touched something dirty. That jade pendant was bestowed by the royal family. Since I'm no longer part of it, taking it would be improper. Jack's face turned dark. Lucy, that was the love token I gave you. You said you would treasure it like your life forever. What is this supposed to mean? Are you drawing a line between us? Your Majesty must be joking. I turned back and continued putting away the divorce letter. The 9 Phoenix token has been handed over. Now you are the Emperor and I am a commoner. I would not dare keep a royal gift and give anyone a reason to accuse me of stealing palace property later. Jack gritted his teeth. If you don't want it, throw it away. I don't care either. Today was the new Empress's coronation, and also the day I, the deposed Empress, left the palace. The Empress Dowager's trusted maid checked every chest with a ledger, afraid I might take even a needle from the palace. I ignored it and simply directed my old servants to load several sealed camperwood chests onto the carriage. Well, sister, leaving already? A soft, teasing voice came over. Anna? No? Now I should call her Empress Anna. Holding her high pregnant belly, she walked in with palace maids supporting her, surrounded like the center of the world. She wore a bright red phoenix robe and the 9 Phoenix sunrise crown that had once belonged to me, smiling like she had won everything. Jack followed behind her in a bright yellow dragon robe, his expression complicated. Seeing me in plain clothes with no hairpins or jewelry, Jack frowned. Lucy, why are you dressed so simply? Didn't I reward you with so much brocade and jewelry? Why aren't you wearing any of it? Exactly, sister. His Majesty treated you so well. His gifts could buy half the capital. If you leave them all behind, wouldn't that waste his kindness? Her words sounded like concern, but they were meant to cut. She was showing off to me and reminding Jack that I didn't appreciate his rewards. I stopped what I was doing, turned, and calmly glanced at them. After looking at Anna, I turned to Jack and stepped aside, revealing the neatly arranged chests inside the hall. Every chest was open, filled with brocade, kingfisher jewelry, headpieces, pearls, and gemstones. All of it had been gifted to me by Jack over the years. Your Majesty, I said clearly, these were given to the Empress of Liang. Now that I am no longer Empress, they should naturally be returned to their owner and left for the person who truly needs them. As I said that, I looked meaningfully at Anna. Her smile froze and Jack's face looked terrible too. I truly left with nothing. Aside from a few boxes of old paintings and books, my mother's belongings and my old servants, I took nothing. Sister, how noble of you. Anna gritted her teeth. But once you leave, I'm afraid you'll never see this kind of luxury again. Don't regret it. I smiled and ignored her. When the last chest was closed, I walked to the center of the hall. Facing Changle Palace, which had trapped me for 5 years, and facing the towering imperial city, I slowly knelt down. Jack thought I was bowing to him and instinctively straightened his back. A flash of expectation crossed his eyes. He thought I would cry right then and beg him to keep me. But what I gave was not a subject's salute, nor a wife's farewell. I folded my hands, pressed my forehead to the floor, and gave one solemn bow. First bow, farewell to the 5 years of youth I buried behind these red walls. Second bow, farewell to the naive foolishness I once bled for. Third bow, farewell to the past. From now on, the road is long, and we have nothing to do with each other. When the bow was done, I stood up. I brushed the dust from my knees, my eyes clear and calm, without a trace of attachment left. Your Majesty, Your Highness, take care. I gave a slight bow and left without looking back. The carriage was parked beside the palace gate passage. A servant stepped forward first, lifted the curtain, and was about to help me in. Hold it. Messy footsteps rushed out from the side passage. I paused. Without turning around, I could tell it was Susan, Anna's maid. Madam Lucy, why are you leaving in such a hurry? Susan came with 4 strong eunuchs and blocked the carriage aggressively. I slowly turned around. Susan, instead of serving your mistress in Weiyang Palace, why are you barking over here? Susan's face stiffened, then she sneered. For a commoner, you sure have a sharp mouth. The palace has rules. Not even a needle or thread from here can be taken away. Her eyes swept over me as she said in a mocking tone, The Empress has ordered that someone leaving the palace may be hiding royal items. To follow palace rules, we must search the carriage and search you too. As soon as she said that, the guards at the gate all changed expressions. Search me? Let eunuchs and maids search the former Empress in public? This wasn't checking for stolen goods. This was humiliation. How dare you? Mary was shaking with anger. She jumped down from the carriage and stood in front of me. My lady may no longer be Empress, but she is still a first-rank titled lady personally granted by the late Emperor. I'd like to see who dares touch her. A lowly old servant dares to shout here? Men, teach her properly what palace rules are. As soon as Susan finished speaking, 2 eunuchs rushed up and clamped down on Mary's shoulders, one on each side. What are you doing? Let go! Mary struggled desperately. Kneel! One eunuch kicked Mary hard in the back of the knee. With a crack, Mary screamed and was forced down into the snow. Stop! I tried to rush forward, but two eunuchs held me back tightly. Susan pulled a redwood ruler from her sleeve. Since you can't control the dog beside you, I'll do it for you. This strike is for insulting the Empress's authority. The ruler slammed across Mary's face without mercy. With a sharp crack, Mary was knocked sideways. Half her face swelled instantly, and blood fell from the corner of her mouth onto the snow, bright red and glaring. Mary trembled from the pain and shouted at me through her bleeding mouth. Miss, don't worry about this old servant, go. Don't let them shame you because of me. What proof do you have? When did Mary insult the Empress's authority? The Empress Dowager's maid Lee already checked every chest. Does the Empress Dowager's word not count anymore? Susan flicked the blood off the ruler and gave me a provocative look. The Empress reported it to the Empress Dowager herself, and I came with orders. Madam Lucy, remember this. The palace now belongs to Anna, not Lucy. Susan. I shoved away the eunuchs blocking me and rushed at her. Do you not want that hand anymore? A jeweled gold hairpin was stabbed through Susan's palm, blood splattering everywhere. Since this hand doesn't know the rules, I'll ruin it for you. Susan fell backward in pain, rolling and screaming in the snow. The eunuchs and guards around us were stunned by the sudden scene, frozen in place, and not one dared step forward. Lucy, are you insane? An angry roar came from behind me as Jack strode over. Your Majesty, blood, so much blood. Anna, who followed close behind, clutched her belly and weakly fell into Jack's arms. Sister, how could she hurt my wet nurse like that? Today is the coronation. Blood on a day like this is a grave insult. Jack's face was dark with anger and he shoved me away. Caught off guard, I stumbled back, my waist slamming hard against the carriage shaft, making me suck in a breath from the pain. You vicious woman. Jack pointed at my face, veins bulging at his temple. Today is my and Anna's wedding celebration, and you won't be satisfied until there is blood? Susan is Anna's wet nurse, and you dared attack her with a gold hairpin. You're nothing but a street shrew. Someone call the imperial physician. Stop Susan's bleeding now, he shouted anxiously, gently patting Anna's back as he held her. I steadied myself against the carriage shaft and looked at the man I had loved for 7 years. My hair had come loose when I pulled out the hairpin, and a few strands fell beside my face. In his heart, my dignity was worth less than one finger of that cheap servant. A street shrew. I repeated those words and suddenly laughed. The laugh grew louder and louder, filled with endless sorrow. Jack, you pushed your wife for a servant? Shut up! Since the divorce letter is signed, you are no longer my wife. Jack seemed enraged by my laughter. If not for the Lucy family, I would charge you with attempted murder right now, so I'm not your wife anymore. I stopped laughing. Fine. Then I'll return everything to you cleanly. Before I finished speaking, I suddenly turned and in one swift move pulled the saber from the guard beside me. Cold steel flashed, sharp as a dragon's cry. What are you doing? Jack's face changed and he instinctively stepped in front of Anna. I held the saber backward and grabbed the loose hair hanging down with my other hand. Jack, I guarded the kingdom you wanted. I gave up the empress seat you wanted. Today, I, Lucy, cut my hair as my vow. The blade fell, and a lock of black hair dropped softly onto the muddy, blood-stained snow. Our bodies come from our parents. Today, I cut my hair and cut all ties. From this moment on, we marry who we want and have nothing to do with each other, in this life or any life after. I threw down the saber without looking at him again. Turning around, I bent down and gently wiped the blood from Mary's mouth with my sleeve. Mary, let's go home. I helped Mary into the carriage. Lucy. He instinctively took one step forward. Your Majesty. Anna grabbed his sleeve, crying pitifully. Susan has fainted. Why isn't the physician here yet? My stomach hurts. Jack stopped. He glanced back at the cut hair, but in the end, Anna's crying held him in place. Mary leaned against the cushion, half her face horribly swollen. Miss, we really got out. I took out the medicine I carried with me and slowly applied it to her wound. We're out. From now on, there is no empress. There is only Lucy and the Lucy family. We headed south the whole way. Half a month later, the carriage stopped at a ferry dock in Jiangnan. Lucy's family was already the richest in Jiangnan, with deep roots there. News of my return home wasn't exactly kept secret. When the big boat docked, the pier was already packed with people. Uncles, cousins, and hundreds of old family servants had all come. There was none of the finger-pointing I had imagined, and no contempt for a deposed empress. My eldest uncle, his hair completely silver, stood at the very front with a cane. The moment he saw me step off the boat, tears streamed down his face. You're back! That's all that matters! He walked toward me, trembling with every step. Uncle, I brought shame to the Lucy family. Nonsense! My eldest uncle struck his cane hard against the ground, his voice strong and clear. A daughter of the Lucy family was raised like a priceless phoenix. It's the royal family that didn't deserve you. It's Jack who was blind. The Lucy family can support you even for the rest of your life. We won't let you swallow that humiliation. That's right, let's go home. Surrounded like the moon among stars, I was welcomed back to the Lucy family's old estate by the water. I took off the phoenix robe and changed into the most fashionable Sioux-embroidered silk dress in Jiangnan. Once again, I became the bold and carefree eldest daughter of the Lucy family. But peace never lasts when trouble wants to find you. Only a few days after returning home, I ran into trouble while inspecting one of our silk shops. A few local thugs were clearly sent by a rival business, deliberately causing trouble in the shop. Well. So this is the washed-up empress the emperor dumped? The leader of the thugs gave me a filthy grin, his eyes roaming over me without restraint. I heard you served the emperor in the palace. That felt pretty nice, huh? Now that nobody wants you, why not come with me? I may not have a throne, but I've got strength, ha. I slammed the abacus in my hand hard onto the counter and stared at him coldly. Just as the guards behind me were about to step forward, a flash of steel tore through the air. Before that thug could even react, his whole body flew sideways and smashed into the opposite wall, blood spilling from his mouth. An unsheathed sword was pressed right against his throat. Who gave you the guts to say filthy things in front of Lucy? I looked up in surprise and saw someone standing against the light at the doorway. He was tall, broad-shouldered, narrow-waisted, dressed in dark blue brocade, with a fine white jade pendant at his waist. Someone in the crowd recognized him. That's the heir of Prince Jenin, General Tom. Tom, the young prodigy who had guarded the southern border for 10 years and terrified enemy armies like a living demon. What was he doing here? Tom didn't even glance at the trash on the floor. He turned and strode straight toward me. Lucy, he called my name, his voice slightly trembling. Then he took out a neatly folded handkerchief from his chest and held it out to me. The handkerchief was so old that the edges were worn. On it was a crooked little lotus flower. It was something I had given to a boy who was being bullied in the stables when I went to the border with my father at age 10. I froze. Tom looked at me, his ears turning red. The war is over and the border is peaceful now. Lucy, I'm back. Tom might have been an iron-blooded general commanding 3 armies, but in front of me he was just an awkward young man falling in love for the first time. When he found out I liked the steamed milk custard from Zhang's in the south of the city, this noble heir actually went there and lined up himself. That morning, I had just gotten up and finished washing when he rushed into the courtyard like a gust of wind. Lucy, eat it while it's hot. I kept it tucked inside my coat the whole way. It didn't cool down at all. The owner said this custard tastes fishy once it gets cold. I took the custard, still carrying his body warmth, and opened the lid. Warm steam rose up with a rich, milky scent. My nose stung. In the 5 years I spent in the palace, every gift Jack gave me was priceless, but all of them felt cold. Even the so-called imperial meals were barely warm by the time they reached my palace. No one had ever run across half the city just to bring me a bite of food and keep it warm with his own body. I scooped up a spoonful and put it in my mouth. It was sweet but not heavy, and the warmth flowed down my throat and into my heart. Is it good? Tom asked nervously. I looked up and smiled at him. It's the best custard I've ever had. Tom's face instantly turned red. He scratched the back of his head, smiling like a kid who had just been given candy. Meanwhile, 1,000 miles away in the imperial palace, things looked very different. Today, Anna had specially changed into a moon-white flowing dress, with only a simple white jade hairpin in her bun. She had paid a fortune to find out that the emperor liked the former empress best when she dressed in that simple, elegant style. His Majesty has arrived! Jack strode in. Anna immediately stood up and bowed gracefully, copying the way I used to do it. Your Majesty, may you be blessed with peace. The moment Jack saw her, his steps suddenly stopped. His gaze landed on her moon-white dress, and his brows tightened. On Lucy, that dress made her look like a cold, otherworldly fairy. On Anna, it looked like a wild chicken forcing itself into crane feathers. Awkward no matter how you looked at it. That dress doesn't suit you. Jack tugged irritably at his collar. Anna's smile froze on her face. Her eyes turned venomous, but she could only answer meekly. Yes, I'll remember that. Trying to save the mood, she quickly pulled Jack to sit down and brewed tea for him herself. Your Majesty, this is snow-capped jade tea. I prepared it specially for you. Please try it. She tried to imitate the way I brewed tea, but her movements were clumsy and rushed. Jack lifted the cup and had only taken one sip when he suddenly spat the tea out. His tongue was scalded numb. Are you trying to burn me to death? Jack slammed the teacup down hard. You can't even handle something this small. When Lucy made tea, the temperature was always perfect. She never made mistakes like this. Lucy again. Always Lucy. Anna nearly snapped her nails from digging them into her palms, but she could only kneel and apologize. Jack looked at the sobbing woman in front of him, and the irritation in his chest grew even stronger. Back when Lucy was there, Changle Palace was always the most comfortable place. No matter what he said, she could always keep up with him. Her vision and knowledge were never inferior to any man's. I still have memorials to review. You should rest. Jack couldn't stay another moment. He flicked his sleeve and left. As if possessed, he somehow found himself at Changle Palace. He pushed the door open. A thin layer of dust had settled inside. He walked to the familiar rosewood desk where Lucy used to sit. He searched deep inside the drawers, hoping to find some trace she had left behind. Suddenly, an old yellowed account book appeared before his eyes. Inside were lines of delicate handwriting. Before Jack rises in the morning, prepare warm porridge. Avoid cold foods. Jack has been dreaming often lately. Burn calming incense before bed, but not too strong. Jack's old knee injury aches in winter. Make rabbit fur knee guards. Every single word was proof of the love she had given him over the past 7 years. Those words were like loud slaps across his face. Only now did he realize he hadn't just lost an empress. He had lost the only person in the world who loved him with her whole heart. In the 3rd month after Anna was gloriously crowned empress, when the so-called blessed child in her belly was growing fastest, a once-in-a-century, unbelievably severe flood swept through the 3 richest provinces of Jiangnan and Jiangbei with unstoppable force. Days of heavy rain caused the dams to collapse completely. Floodwaters swallowed countless villages and cities like wild beasts. Millions of acres of farmland turned into an ocean. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their homes and families. Bodies and starving refugees covered the land. The disaster was one of the worst since the founding of Great Liang. Urgent military reports flew into the capital like snowflakes, shaking the entire court and throwing everyone into panic. The Astronomical Bureau chief had once sworn in front of all the officials that the new empress carried an unmatched blessed fate and would bring Great Liang good weather and 100 years of prosperity. Now, in the face of this catastrophic flood, those words had become a massive, bitter joke. Rumors immediately spread everywhere among the people. In tea houses and taverns, people whispered under their breath. The deposed Empress Lucy was virtuous beyond compare, yet she was forced out of the palace on false charges. She suffered a terrible injustice. This flood must be heaven's punishment. Some bold people even ran to the city gate and posted notices. How is the current Empress Anna blessed in any way? She's clearly a disaster star, a cursed empress who brings calamity. The moment she rose to power, Great Liang was hit by this catastrophe. If this demon empress isn't removed, Great Liang will be destroyed in her hands sooner or later. Of course, these rumors soon reached the depths of the palace. Inside Weiyang Palace, the air turned ice cold. Anna was like a madwoman, hysterically smashing everything she could reach. Priceless Rukiln vases, imperial red coral bonsai, delicate blue and white jade spring vases. She threw them all to the ground, shattering them to pieces. "Shut up! All of you, shut up!" Her hair was a mess, her face twisted as she screamed. Her nails had split from how hard she was clenching her hands. "If anyone dares gossip behind my back again and call me a disaster star, I'll order their tongue ripped out and have them chopped up to feed the dogs." Several personal maids knelt on the floor covered in broken porcelain, shaking in fear and not even daring to breathe. Sharp shards cut bloody lines into their knees and palms. Blood stained their palace skirts, but they didn't dare move an inch. Nanny Susan dragged along the crippled right hand I had ruined with a gold hairpin, now wrapped in thick bandages. She quickly dismissed the maids, hurried forward despite the mess, and lowered her voice anxiously. "Your Highness, my dear Your Highness, please calm down, be careful or you'll harm the baby." She helped Anna sit down, poured a cup of warm water, and comforted her. "Don't panic, Your Highness. These rumors among the people are only temporary. They won't become anything serious. As long as His Majesty still believes in your fate, our position in the palace is solid. Have you forgotten the Astronomical Bureau chief? The Anna family spent a fortune feeding him 2 whole chests of gold bars. We have leverage over him. He would never dare say anything reckless. But His Majesty won't even come see me anymore. He won't even step over the threshold of Weiyang Palace." Anna slapped the teacup out of Nanny Susan's hand and cried out in despair and fury. She clutched Nanny Susan's sleeve tightly. There was none of her usual gentle, delicate act in front of outsiders. She was filled with vicious rage. "It's all that Lucy's fault. That curse. She's already been kicked out of the palace, yet her ghost still lingers in the capital to ruin me. If I'd known she'd be such a threat, I should have sent killers after her on the day she left and made sure she died outside the palace." "Your Highness, watch your words. If something like that reaches His Majesty's ears, it could cost us our heads." Nanny Susan turned deathly pale and rushed forward to cover Anna's mouth, then glanced nervously toward the palace doors. "What are you scared of?" Anna shoved her away roughly, her eyes turning vicious and crazed. "This is Weiyang Palace. This is my territory. There are no outsiders here. What heavenly phoenix fate? What national blessing? Everyone in this palace knows it was nothing but a path paved with the Anna family silver to get me to the top." Jealousy and fear had already driven her out of her mind. Gritting her teeth, she began plotting something even crazier. "I am now the rightful empress of Great Liang. If it comes to it, I'll have my father fabricate some charge of treason or rebellion and issue an imperial order to seize the Lucy family in Jiangnan. I'll take back that slut Lucy's 9 Luan token and seize the wealth the Lucy family has built over 100 years for my private treasury. Once I have money, let's see if His Majesty still thinks about that worthless woman." A deafening crash suddenly interrupted Anna's insane fantasy. The huge screen standing at the entrance of the inner hall, carved from fine rosewood with an exquisite 100 birds facing the phoenix design, was kicked down from the outside. The heavy rosewood screen slammed onto the floor tiles, even smashing several blue bricks and kicking up a cloud of choking dust. When the dust settled, Jack stood at the doorway with a face dark as iron, like a demon walking out of hell. His fists were clenched tight. Because of his extreme anger and shock, his entire body was trembling uncontrollably. His bloodshot eyes locked onto Anna on the couch, filled with towering rage and murderous intent. "Your Majesty." The moment Anna and Nanny Susan saw Jack, they were so terrified it was like their souls had flown out of their bodies. Their legs went weak, as if every bone had been pulled out. They collapsed straight onto the floor covered in broken porcelain. Jack's mind buzzed. What had he just heard? Standing outside the door, he had heard every single word of this vicious woman's plan. For the so-called 100 years of national fortune, for that absurd legend about blue tears. He had accepted the name of an ungrateful man and personally forced away the wife who had stayed by his side for 7 years, managed his kingdom, and shielded him from blades and arrows. So all that talk of destiny, all those blessed fate prophecies from the Astronomical Bureau, had been fake. Then he suddenly remembered when Lucy had suffered miscarriage after miscarriage, and the Empress Dowager invited a monk to perform. Those lies were probably cooked up by Anna's vicious household, their servants, and the Empress Dowager together. This was a massive scam, carefully planned from beginning to end. And he, the mighty emperor of Great Liang, who thought he was so wise and powerful, had been played like a brainless fool by these women. Because of one ridiculous lie, he destroyed his own home and drove away the only person in the world who wanted nothing from his throne and truly cared for him. "Your Majesty, spare me. Your Majesty, please let me explain. It's not what you heard." Anna's face turned as pale as paper. Ignoring the porcelain shards cutting into her knees, she crawled over in panic, trying to grab Jack's leg and beg for mercy. Get away! Don't touch me with those filthy hands. Jack looked at her fake, pretentious face and felt a violent wave of disgust rise in his stomach. He suddenly lifted his foot and with all his strength, kicked Anna hard in the chest without the slightest mercy. Ah! Anna was kicked away like a torn sack, flying through the air and rolling several yards before her back slammed hard into the corner of a solid rosewood table. There was a sickening thud. She screamed and spat out a huge mouthful of blood, staining the pale blue hem of her dress. For the wealth and glory of your Anna family, for the position of Empress, you dared to collude with the imperial astronomers and deceive the throne. You dared to gamble with Great Liang's 1,000-year fortune and the entire kingdom. Jack pointed at her, so furious that his heart seized. A tearing pain ripped through his chest, and a sweet bloody taste surged up his throat. He suddenly bent over and spat out a huge mouthful of blood. In that instant, his mind flashed uncontrollably back to the day Lucy left the palace. She was dressed in plain white, drawing a long blade with absolute resolve and cutting off her waterfall-like hair. The last look she gave him held no hatred and no pleading, only a clear understanding of everything, a cold, dead silence, and undisguised mockery. So a woman as smart as her had already seen through the whole conspiracy. She had seen through his stupidity, his hypocrisy, and his selfishness. Back then, as she watched him make a fool of himself over a lie, how ridiculous and disgusting must she have thought he was? The chief eunuch outside heard the commotion and rushed in, crying, "Your Majesty!" When he saw the scene, his face changed in terror. He hurried forward to help him, but Jack shoved him away, staggered back 2 steps, and gripped the doorframe tightly, barely keeping his swaying body from collapsing. He gasped for breath, pointed a blood-covered finger at Anna, who was half dead on the floor, and gave the coldest order. By my decree, Anna deceived the throne, disturbed the imperial harem, and committed unforgivable crimes. Strip her of the Empress's golden seal and official book at once, demote her to a commoner, and throw her into the cold palace. Without my written order, no one is allowed to visit her. Let her rot in there on her own. As for this old slave who stirred up trouble and led her mistress astray, he coldly glanced at Mary, who was trembling beside them as if looking at an insect. Drag her out, beat her to death immediately, then throw her into the mass graves for the dogs. And one more thing. Jack took a deep breath, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and a nearly crazed obsession burst from his eyes. Summon the commander of the Imperial Guards and the head of the Shadow Guards. Find her at any cost. Even if you have to turn Great Liang upside down, bring my Empress back. Bring Lucy back to me, safe and whole. Because of the Emperor's thunderous rage, the entire palace sank into a fear it had never known before. Even the servants walked on tiptoe, terrified of drawing his anger. After giving his orders, Jack became like a completely deranged man who had lost all reason, wandering like a ghost between Weiyang Palace and Changle Palace. He tried to find even the tiniest trace that Lucy might have left behind, but there was nothing. Lucy had left cleanly, as if she had never existed in the palace at all. On the edge of despair and collapse, he even ignored filial duty and led a team of armed Imperial Guards straight into the Empress Dowager's signing palace. Facing her son, whose eyes were bloodshot and who looked almost like a ghost as he screamed his questions, the Empress Dowager still tried to act superior and deny everything. But when Jack threw the confession from the head of the Imperial astronomers right in her face, her eyes dodged away. In the end, her defenses collapsed, and she slumped into the Phoenix chair, forced to admit the truth. It turned out that the Empress Dowager wanted full control of the harem, wanted to push her own niece Anna into power, and also wanted to use imperial authority to swallow Lucy's family fortune. That fortune was so vast it could rival the nation itself, even richer than the treasury. She had not only allowed Anna's family to deceive the throne, but had secretly helped them every step of the way. Your Majesty, I did all of this for your own good. The Empress Dowager wept bitterly, trying to hide her greed behind motherly love. Lucy has no children. If she kept sitting as Empress, her family would become a threat one day. Anna is one of our own. If she gives birth to the Crown Prince, this kingdom will forever belong to Jack's bloodline. For my own good? Ha ha ha, what a perfect excuse. Jack looked at the mother before him, with her white hair and wrinkled face, yet still full of schemes. His laugh sounded 100 times more miserable than crying. Mother, stop lying to yourself. You were never doing this for me. You did it for your own need to control power. For the endless wealth and glory your Anna family could never get enough of. He pointed right at the Empress Dowager's nose, every word slow and bleeding with pain. Because of your greed, you destroyed your son's home with your own hands. You destroyed the only bit of true love I had in this life. From now on, hold on to your precious power and grow old alone in this empty signing palace. With that, he stumbled out of Sinning Palace. At some point, a torrential rain had begun outside. Violent winds swept fallen leaves into the air, and thunder cracked with flashes of lightning. It felt as if the sky itself was about to collapse. Jack would not let any eunuch hold an umbrella for him, nor would he allow any guard to follow. Like a walking corpse, he let the freezing rain soak through the bright yellow dragon robe that symbolized his supreme imperial power. Without realizing it, as if guided by some obsession, he walked to the doors of the royal ancestral temple. He pushed open the heavy vermilion doors. Inside, it was cold, dark, and gloomy. 7 years ago, on a winter solstice night, because his birth mother came from a humble background, his brothers framed him, and the late emperor punished him by making him kneel outside this very temple. He had knelt in snow packed with shards of ice. For 3 days and 3 nights he had no water, his body was covered in frostbite, his fever would not break, and his mind was fading. He thought that he, an unloved prince, was going to quietly freeze to death in this man-eating palace. Just as he closed his eyes in despair, ready to wait for death, Lucy came. She was a reckless, fearless girl who had only just come of age. She used the only jewelry she had to bribe the guards, then risked her life to sneak into the ancestral temple late at night. She pulled a steaming meat bun from inside her clothes, still warm from her body, and forced it into his frozen hands. Ignoring all rules about men and women keeping distance, she took off her thick fox fur cloak and wrapped him tightly in it. Crying the whole time, she used her warm little hands to desperately rub his hands, which had turned purple from the cold and lost all feeling. "Jack, don't be scared. Eat something and you'll have strength. I'll stay here with you. I won't let you die." That promise was like warm sunlight in winter. Every word was sincere, branded deep into his soul. "As husband and wife, we will never doubt our love. Lucy, once I win the world, I will never let you down." That was the promise he gave her. But now, the ancestral temple was still solemn, and the tablets of his ancestors were still coldly enshrined high above. But he had lost the girl who was willing to face death with him, all by his own hand. With a thud, Jack's knees gave out, and he dropped heavily onto the cold golden bricks of the ancestral temple. "Lucy!" With trembling hands, he pulled a carefully wrapped bundle from inside his clothes. It was the lock of hair Lucy had tossed into the snow outside the palace gate that day. He clutched it tightly to his chest. Like a lost child, he broke down in front of his ancestors, sobbing like his heart had been torn apart. "I was wrong, I was really wrong. Please come back, okay?" In the empty hall, echoing with thunder, he slammed his forehead to the floor again and again. But no matter how hard he begged, no matter how desperately he cried, the bright young girl who would have pulled him up, stuffed a warm bun into his mouth, and warmed his hands for him, never appeared again. The only answer he got was the merciless roar of wind and rain outside, and the dead silence inside the vast hall. Just then, a dark figure appeared in the hall like a ghost, soundless and sudden, dropping to one knee. It was the leader of the Shadow Guards sent to investigate in Jiangnan. "Your Majesty." The Shadow Guard's voice carried a hint of hesitation and fear, his head lowered. When Jack heard him, he suddenly turned around. Ignoring the blood on his forehead, he rushed over like he had grabbed the last lifeline, clamped both hands onto the guard's shoulders, and shook him hard. "Did you find her? Tell me now. Where is she? Is she doing well? Is she still angry with me? Is she waiting in Jiangnan for me to bring her back?" The guard felt like his bones were about to fall apart from the shaking. He did not dare look up at the eyes of this emperor, who had clearly gone mad. Gritting his teeth, he forced himself to report honestly. "Your Majesty, we found her. The deposed Empress, Lucy, is now living in her family's old estate in Jiangnan. She has not suffered. Instead, she has taken back control of all her family's businesses, and she now has great influence in Jiangnan. Business is booming." Hearing that she had not suffered, the weight in Jack's heart eased just a little. He asked urgently, "Did she mention me? Did she say she would return to the capital?" Cold sweat broke out on the guard's forehead, and his voice dropped even lower. Only my men discovered that there is now often a strong, heroic-looking man by Lucy's side. After several reports from our spies, he seems to be Tom, the heir of the Prince of Jinan and the great General Wei Yuan, newly returned victorious from the southern border. The two go everywhere together, almost never apart. In the streets of Jiangnan, they seem very close. The words "very close" were like two poison-coated daggers, stabbing ruthlessly and mercilessly into Jack's heart. He froze on the spot as if struck by lightning, and his mind uncontrollably filled with Lucy's face. The Lucy who had always been gentle and obedient in front of him, always looking at him with worship and love in her eyes. She was such a reserved and dignified woman. How could she smile so beautifully at another man? How could she care for another man and act so close to him? In an instant, a toxic fire called jealousy erupted like a volcano, swallowing the last bit of reason he had left. She was his wife, the woman he had married properly, the woman who stayed with him for 7 years and helped him win this vast kingdom. She belonged only to him. How could she turn around and love someone else? "Prepare the horses, now!" Jack shoved the Shadow Guard away. His eyes were red as blood, and like an enraged trapped beast, he let out a terrifying roar. "Order the Imperial Army to gather 1,000 elite troops. I am leaving for Jiangnan immediately." He drew the Emperor's sword from his waist and slashed hard into a pillar of the ancestral temple. Wood splinters flew everywhere, and his eyes flashed with murderous madness. "She is my Empress. In life, she is mine. In death, she is still mine. Whoever dares touch my woman, I will kill him. I will wipe out his whole clan." Meanwhile, in Jiangnan, the July sun was blazing, but the backyard of Lucy's old family estate was quiet, cool, and peaceful. A century-old wisteria vine spilled down from the trellis like a massive purple waterfall. Broken sunlight slipped through the leaves, casting mottled shadows and perfectly blocking out the harsh afternoon sun. A breeze passed by, carrying waves of wisteria fragrance. I leaned lazily in a rattan chair covered with a bamboo mat, holding a Suzhou embroidery hoop I had just started, lowering my head as I carefully stitched a lifelike butterfly with colorful silk thread. "Lucy, open up." Tom wore a comfortable ice silk short outfit, pulled over a small stool, and sat beside me as naturally as could be. He held a delicate white jade bowl filled with fresh mandarins chilled in well water. His long, defined fingers patiently peeled the fruit. He even carefully used a bamboo pick to remove every bit of the white pith, afraid the slightest bitterness would ruin the taste. Once he peeled a segment, he held the crystal-clear piece of mandarin and gently brought it to my lips. I stopped my embroidery, looked up, and met his deep, smiling eyes. I smiled softly at him, not shy at all, and naturally opened my mouth. I took the mandarin segment, and the cold, sweet tart juice burst in my mouth, washing away the heat of midsummer and sweetening my whole heart. Tom withdrew his hand and looked at my satisfied expression. His eyes were full, almost overflowing with undisguised tenderness and love. On this quiet afternoon, with someone beside me whose whole heart and eyes were filled with me, and with a breeze so gentle, this sense of ease and safety, with no need to stay guarded or calculate every step, was something I never dared dream of during those 5 years in Changle Palace. "Is it good?" he asked softly, his voice low and pleasant. It's sweet." I nodded. She put down the embroidery hoop in her hand. Then she picked up another peeled orange slice from the jade bowl, leaned forward, and naturally brought it to his lips. "You try some too." A huge smile spread across Jack's face as he was about to open his mouth and take it. Just then, in that warm, quiet moment, as if time itself had stopped. Bang! The heavy vermilion wooden gate in the Lucy family's backyard was brutally kicked open from the outside. The sturdy door bolt snapped in two, and the wooden door slammed hard into the wall with a deafening crash. Tom wore plain clothes and looked travel-worn, but he still carried the hostility and pressure of someone used to being on top. His hair was messy, a few strands stuck to his forehead with sweat. His eyes were dark and bloodshot, his lips were cracked, and he had lost a lot of weight. Clearly, he had rushed to Jiangnan day and night without rest. He stood at the doorway like a living demon, gasping hard, his bloodshot eyes locked onto me like a starving wolf, and onto my hand, intertwined with Jack's as we fed each other. He had never seen Lucy look so sweet, relaxed, and carefree. In the palace, she had always been graceful, restrained, and devoted to the emperor. But now this kind of intimacy only found between loving husband and wife. This pink, tender atmosphere that completely shut him out was now slicing at his heart like 1,000 knives. "Lucy!" Tom roared, his voice frighteningly hoarse. His eyes were bloodshot. He lifted his foot and charged toward me like a mad bull, trying to grab me. "Who dares break into the Lucy estate?" Jack reacted extremely fast. Almost the same second the gate was kicked open, the instant Tom spoke. He sprang up from the small stool like a quick and powerful leopard. With one swift sidestep, his tall body blocked me completely behind his broad back in a fiercely protective stance. Clang! With a crisp ring like a dragon's cry, the flexible sword Jack always carried slid half an inch from its sheath. The cold blade flashed sharply in the sunlight, and a thick, almost tangible killing intent burst from Jack in an instant. Though Jack was only dressed in simple everyday clothes today, he had crawled out of mountains of corpses in the hellish battlefield of the southern frontier. He was the living king of hell who commanded thousands of troops, and the iron-blooded aura forged through countless life-and-death battles. Once released, instantly overwhelmed Tom's so-called imperial presence. Tom was forced to stop by that terrifying pressure rushing toward him, his breath catching for a second. But soon, the fury of being challenged by a mere subject completely overpowered his fear. He flew into an even bigger rage. "Jack, you've got some nerve!" Tom pointed at Jack's nose, his eyes burning with anger. The Emperor's authority could not be challenged. "She is my woman, the Empress of Liang. You dare point a sword at me? Are you trying to rebel?" I stood behind Jack's broad, solid back, feeling his tense muscles and protective stance, and my heart felt incredibly steady. I slowly peeked out from his side. When I saw that face I once dreamed about, but now only found completely unfamiliar. The gentle, happy smile on my face faded away like the tide, disappearing completely, leaving only icy indifference. "Sir, you broke into a private home in broad daylight and started spouting nonsense. What exactly are you trying to do?" I looked at him, my voice calm, as if I were looking at an unreasonable stranger. Tom's eyes widened in disbelief. It was like he no longer knew me. Seeing the calm coldness in my eyes, his heart twisted in pain. "Lucy, it's me, Tom. I'm your husband. How can you look at me like I'm your enemy? Are you still mad at me? I was fooled by Anna. I know I was wrong. I came to take you home." He desperately tried to explain, attempting to get around Jack, who stood in front of him like an iron tower, and reached for my sleeve. But Jack gave him no chance to come closer. He raised his hand, channeled his inner force, and slammed a ruthless palm strike into Tom's chest. "Get lost!" Jack's voice sounded like it was squeezed through his teeth, carrying an icy warning. That strike was a real military palm technique. He held nothing back. Tom was already weak from days of exhaustion and the long journey. That one strike sent him stumbling backward several steps. He nearly lost his footing and almost fell into the muddy yard. "You dare push me, you traitorous rebel!" Tom was blocked, his chest aching, and he felt humiliated in front of the woman he loved. Furious and ashamed, he cursed loudly. "Sir, I think you have the wrong person." I stepped out from behind Jack and stood beside him. I lifted my chin slightly and looked calmly and firmly at Tom's twisted, angry face. "My husband's name is Jack. He is not far away. He is right here, standing in front of you." Tom shook violently at those words, as if he had been struck by lightning. He stepped back in disbelief, his face instantly turning pale and bloodless. "As for that Tom you keep talking about..." I paused, a deeply mocking smile curling on my lips, mixed with a sense of relief as I looked at his bloodless, hopeless face. "To me, he has been dead for a long time. He died half a year ago, the moment that divorce letter was signed, and the moment you forced me to hand over the Juluan token." I took a deep breath and buried that rotten past for good. By now, the grass on his grave is probably 3 feet tall. After saying that, I did not let my eyes linger on Tom's pained and twisted face for even one more second. I turned around. Right in front of Tom, I naturally picked up the other half of the orange from the jade bowl, the one Jack had peeled for me and carefully cleaned of the white fibers. I turned to Jack, my eyes instantly softening with tenderness. I stood on tiptoe and personally fed that orange slice into Jack's mouth, smiling sweetly as I said, "Honey, this orange is really sweet. Hurry and eat it." Jack cooperated perfectly, lowering his head to take the orange from my fingertips. His throat moved as he swallowed, then he raised an eyebrow, his sharp eyes full of provocation. Like he was declaring his claim, he looked deeply at Tom, who stood not far away as if struck by lightning. I patted the back of Jack's hand, deliberately raised my voice and said pointedly, "When you're done, remember to spit the seeds far away. Our yard was just cleaned. Don't let some filthy stray cats and dogs leave their trash and dirty up our home." Tom stood there, watching us act so close and loving, listening to every pointed word I said. He felt the whole world spinning around him. A painful whimper came from his throat, as if all the blood had been drained from his body. He was utterly devastated. Tom refused to give up. Like a man possessed, he stayed in the long, stone-paved alley outside the Lucy family's old home for 3 full days and nights. For those 3 days, the weather in Jiangnan was strangely harsh, with pouring rain. The wind carried huge raindrops that hit people painfully hard. He ignored all imperial dignity and knelt outside the closed gates of the Lucy estate like a homeless beggar. He let the icy rain wash over his thin body again and again, soaking his clothes completely, his hair plastered to his scalp, leaving him in a pitiful state. The emperor, who once stood high above everyone in the Golden Palace, deciding the life and death of tens of thousands with a single word, was now humbled into the dust by a Jiangnan autumn rain. The passers-by, whether merchants holding oil paper umbrellas or laborers in straw raincoats, all pointed and whispered about this strange man kneeling outside a wealthy family's home. Oh my, where did this crazy guy come from? Why is he kneeling here in this storm? I heard he's a heartless man begging Miss Lucy to forgive him. Wow, how devoted. He's been kneeling for 3 days and still won't leave. They thought this was some touching story of a reckless man finally coming back to his senses, but they knew nothing of the blood-deep hatred behind it. Only I, standing behind the attic window, watching that swaying figure in the heavy rain with cold eyes, knew the truth clearly. This was not some moving act of love. It was just a dictator used to controlling everything, acting out of resentment and possessiveness after losing his favorite possession. On the morning of the 4th day, the rain stopped. Jack and I were preparing to leave and inspect the businesses north of the river. When we arrived at the dock, Tom suddenly rushed out from somewhere and blocked our way. "Lucy, don't go!" In front of hundreds of people at the dock, the mighty Emperor of Liang dropped to his knees before me with no dignity at all. He reached out to grab the hem of my skirt, but Jack blocked him. "Lucy, come back with me. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." Tom cried as he begged, his words coming out in a broken mess. "I've already stripped Anna of her title and sent her to the cold palace. The Empress's seat is empty. As long as you come back with me, you'll still be Empress. No, from now on, the harem will be empty. I'll only love you. The kingdom, the Juluan token, everything is yours. Please don't leave me." He humbly offered up what he thought was most precious, hoping to get me to look back just once. The crowd erupted in shock. I quietly looked at him, at the man who once swore to protect me for life, and now I only felt disgust. Tom, the person I loved was the young man who would rather freeze to death in the snow than stop warming my hands. But that young man died long ago in the desire for power. He died in your lies and schemes. The man you are now is selfish, weak, and useless. You disgust me. Tom trembled violently, and the last bit of light in his eyes went out completely. Love that comes too late is worth less than dirt. Jack. I turned and called his name. Jack stepped forward, took off his cloak, gently draped it over my shoulders, and tied it for me. "Let's go, my husband." I held Jack's arm and never looked again at Tom kneeling on the ground. Then I turned and stepped onto the ship. The sails rose, the horn sounded, and the ship cut through the river water, slowly leaving the shore. Tom knelt on the muddy bank, watching the ship drift farther and farther away, watching my figure vanish where the sky met the water. He opened his mouth, coughed up a mouthful of blood, but could not make a sound. He finally understood. Some turns last a lifetime, and some people, once lost, can never be found again. 3 years later, Anna went mad in the cold palace, shouting every day that she was the Empress, before finally slipping and falling into a dry well to her death. Tom fell ill from grief, beyond the help of medicine. On a snowy winter night, he lay in Changle Palace, tightly clutching a lock of my cut hair, and breathed his last in endless regret. When he died, his eyes were still fixed toward Jiangnan. Meanwhile, Jiangnan was wrapped in misty rain, peaceful and quiet. From the Lucy family courtyard came the soft voice of a child reciting, "In Jiangnan, lotus can be picked. The lotus leaves stretch wide and green." I held my little daughter, who was just learning to talk, and taught her to recite poetry. Then the courtyard gate opened. Jack came in carrying 2 fresh jugs of osmanthus wine and a lively sea bass. "Honey, the fish is fresh today. I'll make you fish soup tonight." The sun set, and smoke rose from the kitchen. Someone asks if my porridge is warm. Someone stands with me at dusk. This is the life I wanted.